How was your transition, Alex, from working with robots to working with your wife? Was it a long transition or was it a hard stop?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like she said, we were doing an online business. So it was online weight loss challenges and fitness challenges. And we were running a fit camp. We'd have like 50 people working out a few times a week. I was familiar with the business and familiar with working with her, which was great. It was interesting. I was at an amazing company called Amazon Robotics. I actually had a great time there. Going from working with engineers and machine learning scientists and some of the smartest people I've ever met, then jumping into how do I help people with their nutrition, it was definitely a big leap.
Hey guys, it's Kristen Reyes. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have some awesome guests with me. I have Kelsey and Alex Macomber. They are friends of mine, they're past clients, and they do some pretty awesome stuff in the community, so I'm excited for you to hear from them. So Kelsey and Alex, you guys have a pretty cool story of how you started your businesses in the area. Do you want to just kind of jump in and talk about how that all came to be?
Sure. So thank you so much for having us, Kristen. We're so excited. Our first ever podcast, which is really cool. Yeah. My name's Alex. This is my wife, Kelsey. We're originally from Rhode Island. We actually grew up in the same town. I've been living in southern New Hampshire for the last 8 or 9 years. Yeah. Been living around this area for a long time. And I come from a tech background. I grew up and then went into engineering and kind of traveled around the world doing really cool stuff with robots. And then met my wife. The traveling kind of slowed down a little bit out of her preference. And then she found a really cool opportunity for us to pursue. And I'll let her talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so when I was in college, I started, I had studied abroad in Italy. And I had gained a little bit of weight while I was there traveling through Italy. And so when I came back, I started this health and fitness journey for myself. So when I started all of that, I started looking on social media, and at social media at the time, there was no health coaches like we see them all over the place now, and we see all these fitness influencers. But at the time, there was nothing like that because it just didn't exist. But there were a few, and so I reached out to a few. One of them happened to be Alex's sister-in-law. And so I got started on my health and fitness journey. I started doing online health coaching before it was kind of like a cool thing to do. And so I just did online health coaching on social media for 5.5 years. And a few of our friends started opening up brick and mortar businesses to kind of bring what we had to offer online into a community aspect to build a local community. And so Alex and I were super interested in doing that. But it was a total switch up from what Alex was doing already because he worked in the tech field. But we had a vision to open a bunch of health and smoothie and tea bars in the area and just be a positive environment for people to come and hang out and, work on themselves and that kind of thing. We opened our first one. It was a wild success. And then, of course, things happened and people started to become more health focused and our business really exploded then. And then we, started to expand from there. So that one store became 2, became 3, became now 22 in the U.S., and we're just super excited.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I follow you guys, obviously, on social media. I think that all of your stuff is inspiring, even aside from the health and fitness stuff. Just in general, you're very positive, upbeat people that are motivating. And like yesterday when I saw your stories about doing things out of your comfort zone, stuff like that, I'm like, dang, it's stuff you have to think of and be mindful of when you're running a business and you want to be challenging yourself all the time. So how was your transition, Alex, from working with robots to working with your wife? Was it a long transition or was it a hard stop?
Yeah, it's a good question because like she said, we were doing an online business. So it was online weight loss challenges and fitness challenges. We ran a local, actually right next door in Pelham, we were running a fit camp. We'd have 50 people working out a few times a week. And then we were doing the weight loss challenges, fit camps. And I was working with her throughout that time for the last 5 years before I jumped ship. So I was familiar with the business and familiar with working with her, which was great. And then when I jumped ship, though, it was interesting. Leaving, I was at an amazing company called Amazon Robotics. I actually had a great time there. Going from working with engineers and machine learning scientists and some of the smartest people I've ever met, then jumping into how do I help people with their nutrition, it was definitely a big big leap. It was amazing. You know, I think the biggest thing for us, the reason we were attracted to the model of business we do now is the community aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like if you're running an online business, it's amazing. The impact you're making is incredible. But actually meeting people face to face, that was what we became obsessed with. And so now we're building relationships. Some of our best friends are actually just our customers. Like you mentioned, like now we're friends. Even though we're
exactly.
former clients.
And you guys do the in-person training, and I think that's awesome. Just a safe space for people to go that feel like you're going to be a positive impact on them, and kind of a one-stop shop. They can get all the stuff they need, get some motivation, and get a workout all in one place. That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like the online community is awesome, and we still have that's a very large part of our business, is having an online community for people to plug into, because we live in the world where, you know, everyone has a phone in their hand. So they have that with them 24/7, so they can plug into an online community. There's nothing more special than giving somebody a hug, like in person. And I think that's something that we really wanted to be able to do, especially after 2020 and 2021. Like that was just something like we felt like the world needed a lot of positivity and a lot of love and a lot of light. And so we were super excited to be able to bring that to people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I see that you guys go on all kinds of trips where you're doing these big speaking engagements and stuff, which is unbelievable and bold. But are you guys purposeful of who you surround yourself with and what leaders you look to for guidance?
Yeah, I think we learned early on that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And, you know, when you understand that concept, we took it to heart. So we're like, you know, let's find the top leaders in our own industry and learn from them the most, get as close to them as we can as possible. And we're fortunate in our industry that training and constant improvement is like becoming the best version of yourself is a big theme of it, a big part of the culture. Yeah, we're always trying to seek out those relationships, both inside the industry that we're in, but also outside of it. You know, there's some of the names that you're bringing on this podcast actually we know personally. Yeah. And we look up to. We see them online. We even you and Kendall, of course. We look up to you guys, and that's where, you know, I always look at it like I have groups of friends that when I'm hanging out with them, we may not be doing the healthiest option type of things. Maybe we're not eating the best. Maybe we're not exercising. And then I have other groups of friends that, you know, we're constantly talking about business, like, hey, let's go for a hike, let's do something healthy. And so you have to be careful of who you spend the most time with. It's okay to have both groups of friends, but who's going to improve your life?
Right. You have to be purposeful about the relationships for sure.
Right. And then I think also like it's okay to have different friend groups. You know, there's certain relationships that give and certain relationships that take. And we would just say like watch the percentages of the time that you're spending with the people that take versus give.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That's something that Kendall and I are trying to be better at, because I feel like we don't have a ton of local mentors anyways for what we really want to be doing and where we want to be going. And so we're just very careful about who we do business with and who we really invest our time and relationships into. Yeah. And then so along kind of the same terms with those buckets of friend groups and family and everything, has starting this business together changed your relationships with any people in your life? You don't have to get, you know, too far in the dirt, but
yeah, I would say definitely some for the better and some for the worse. Just like in any, you know, growth, when you're going through any kind of growth period, it's kind of like a shakeout of your friend group. And some people, when, you know, our income started to rise and our lifestyle started to change, and we're not lavish people by any means, but, you know, different things that we were started to be able to do and be able to provide for our family, and just like different levels of success within our own business, how many stores we were adding. So some people were super excited and gravitated towards that because they wanted to, like, you know, join the momentum in their own business. So we had that going on, and we loved it. We had people reaching out for us to mentor them. And then we also had people that, you know, we had apparently have been friends for years and then saw our success, and they just, you know, jealousy took over and no longer, you know, talk to us or that kind of thing. And I think you can expect that in any, you know, wave of success. Like if you're successful, you're going to have people that don't see your vision or just aren't super excited for you. And that's not a reflection of you or your own leadership or your own, you know, self and your character. It's kind of on them. But you just need to be okay with it. I think one of the things that I most admire about you is that you create such a cool community of people, and you're a great connector of people. Like, you have connected us with so many people too that are of the same mindset, that are of the growth and the business and that kind of, like, you know, building a strong culture and all that things. Like, you guys do an amazing job at that, and that's just something that we admire about you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. When you guys first started, like, did you map out the whole vision of your 5-year plan, or was it kind of survival survival mode, or what was the plan at the beginning? Did you know this was going to happen?
Yeah, it's funny. We were looking back on. We've always had the goal of being where we are today. And again, going back to our mentors and how we're trained, it's all about goal setting, writing down your goals, and knowing where you're heading. So we've been for years have been talking about this is our goal. We want Alex to leave his corporate job and be full time, be able to spend more time with our kids. And it happened. So, fast forward 5 years later, we're exactly where we expected to be.
Yeah.
But and with that said, it was rocky for sure. Anytime you see a successful person, there's many blood, sweat, and tears on the way there. Ungodly amounts of work that gets there, and especially through COVID, that was some of the most insane times of our life.
It was so hard to stay positive at the beginning. That was my biggest thing. Our coach would always be like, just call people. They're going to be happy to hear you. And I'm like, I'm not happy to talk to them, though. I'm not happy right now. I'm not happy.
So we actually capitalized is the wrong word, but we saw that in the communities. People would come into our stores and we could see how broken and scared they were. And this is mid-March, right? And what we did was we realized we're like, wow, like we need to be this strong community person, even though we were scared. I mean, we thought the government was going to shut down our business. We were going to go down to zero. And so we just kept a smile on. And our team would be there and be like, guys, did you hear about the news? We're like, yeah, but it's no problem. Like, we got this. And we actually even started hiring extra people that were getting laid off. And we started writing, we call them positivity caps.
Aww.
Kudos to our friend Madison who had this idea. We would write like, you got this, or no problem, everything's gonna be great. And so everyone would walk out with their delicious shake or tea, and they would have this positive note. And so we're trying to inject positivity in the community as much as we could.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that helped so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny, even so at one point our business was doing super well and it was all curbside. And so we were delivering the shakes and the teas out to people in their cars. Our parking lot became a party. Yeah. And even though, everything that was happening, it was really crazy to see people were camping out in their trunks. They were opening their trunks and literally cheersing across parking spaces. It was so cool. And it was because I think of the culture that we had created before, and it just kind of bled out into the parking lot, even though, no one was coming in. And then our bartenders that were behind the scenes making all the shakes and teas inside, we just had the most fun ever. And we would just try and make it a great time for them, even though, things are happening in the world. And it was just so cool. If you opened our doors, outside in the parking lot, everyone's having a great time with their shakes and teas. And then you open our doors and we have this crazy loud rap music and everyone's having a blast in there. And then of course, we'd close our doors for the day. Everyone would go home. The next day, everyone would come back in with deer in the headlights. And it was our job to okay, everyone, let's do this. Let's rally. We're doing it again. This is it's going to be a great day. Yeah.
So you figured out a good way to pivot.
A good flow. Yeah. I think that was the biggest thing, especially now we're kind of taking a detour, but during COVID, I think a lot of businesses had an opportunity, and the opportunity was to either pivot and succeed or close their doors and fail. And that's not saying that the people that closed their doors and failed did something wrong. It's just they could have maybe pivoted if they had the right mindset. And I think that was a big part of our success, is that we've been so ingrained to have a no problem attitude for the last 9-10 years that we've been in this business, in this industry, that when things did arrive on our doorstep, it was what all the personal development we've done for 10 years kicked in, and it was okay, no problem. That was our first thing.
We have the tools.
Second thought, let's go and work on a solution. Mm-hmm. So it was, all of the things that we had been working on came into play, and the pivoting is what did it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you guys have 3 kids. How old are your kids?
5, 3, 1.
5, 3, 1.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Almost. And how do you guys handle the work-life balance? I know that you guys do skiing a lot. Yeah. Do you do, purposeful things, have time set away for the kids? How do you handle that?
Well, I'm the adventurer, so anytime I have the kids, we're doing something outside. Yesterday we went ice skating, went to the playground. But we basically we're blessed enough that where one of us can go do the business that one day, and then the other one can have the kids. Mm-hmm. And so we make it a point. I think this is really important. Is kids would want to just watch TV all day, mm-hmm. and so as parents, you gotta force the issue to let's get outside, let's go play, let's go skiing, etc. And we're really committed to making our kids skiers so we can enjoy our winters.
Yeah.
And so we ski. Our kids probably have skied 25 days or so this year already. So every weekend.
I think a big thing, so for work-life balance, like it's having 3 young kids, 3 local businesses that we run, and then a larger organization. I think the biggest thing is to like never lose focus of why you started doing the business, because at first you can get, as an entrepreneur, you can get really wrapped up in like, okay, next goal, next goal, next goal, next goal. And then all of a sudden you lose sight, like, why did I even start this? Why did we even want to retire Alex? Okay, we wanted to retire him to have more family time. So it's always a balance. And sometimes we feel guilty, like if we step back from the business a little bit, we're like, oh my gosh, we should be pouring more in. So that guilt is kind of always there. We just try and manage it. But it's to always like, you know, come back to the reason why you started doing this. And just to create that time, because kids are only young once. And like Ryland's already 5.5. And so, you know, we always value the time that we have.
I mean, the alternative is, one of the reasons I left Amazon was because my boss and my boss's boss never saw their kids. They were constantly gone, traveling out of country, et cetera. And that was one of the main reasons. It's like, you know, your kid's baseball games today and you can't go to it. You know, that was not
the life
feasible.
you want.
Not an option.
That wasn't going to happen.
You wanted to coach, not miss.
With that said, when we first opened, I did sacrifice. You know, I was working many long hours, and some of the times she was 6 weeks old, 8 weeks old, and I would literally had to hold her on the register and people while serving people, and it was just, we had to do what we had to do. So there was a long time there where I didn't see the kids when we first opened, but you know, we grew it to a point where now we have an amazing team.
Right. You knew what the trajectory was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Our coach talks about find your freedom number. What is the number that you need to make for your family to be comfortable in order to do the things that you want to do as a family, but also to have your business running the way you want, and have that as what your goal is. And we don't really need to go above that, because if you go above that, then you're pulling from the family time. And it's like, where do they cross in the graph to figure out where's your balance?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's a great.
Yeah, I really like that.
Great piece of advice.
Because I think as an entrepreneur, it's so easy to be like, let's make more, let's make more, let's help more people, let's help more people. But at some point, it comes at your own cost of life,
essentially. Yeah. And I feel like that way a lot recently, like especially since you mentioned we've been traveling a lot, doing speaking. I had the opportunity to speak, and you know, after we had missed so much of January with our kids, we started turning them down because we were like, well, again, go back to what's the point of this? It's taking away from what we originally intended to do. And that was, you know, have family time, to have the freedom. And all of a sudden now our kids are, you know, in school and we only get weekends. And now if we're traveling for speaking, then we're not actually accomplishing what we wanted to accomplish. So it's just having a mindful awareness of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it seems like you guys are doing a great job with it. Your kids look so happy.
Yeah, they're very happy.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah, I need to get ours into skiing too, because that's something I really love doing. Kendall's like, he's fine at it, but he could probably take a few lessons too. But I'm like, I want so badly for us to all be able to go to the mountain as a family and enjoy a whole day, or even half a day. Right now, they can really only just tube. Kyla, our oldest, can ski, but the other two,
you got to come up to the ski condo.
As long as they're doing something in the winter.
Yeah, exactly. Not hibernating inside.
Yeah, exactly.
So where do you guys see yourselves going from here? Like, what's your plan for the next 3-5 years?
Well, it's funny, like Alex said, like we originally mapped out, it's just how we've been raised in our industry, is to map out, you know, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, 10 years. And so currently we're at our 5-year goal, how our life is running, and our next 5 years, we're hoping to be at the end of the 5 years to be a little bit different. Like we see ourselves moving up into the mountains. We see ourselves having, you know, a mountainside house. It's just like kind of where our heart is. So that's the goal, and not necessarily like downshifting in our business, but just having like that freedom number, like you just talked about, like having a freedom number where we can have our business running a little bit without us and enjoy that time, because Ryland will be 10 by then. So we'll really only have weekends, and all of our kids will only be out of school on weekends. So.
But we still have a lot of work to do. We pivoted to this business because of the opportunity in this area, and we barely scratched the surface so far when you look at the numbers and you compare it to other parts of the country. So we really need to like at least triple what we're doing now. And then, you know, because at the end of the day, if we're successful, there's more communities getting healthier.
Right.
So we look at it like, you know, we have a duty almost to make sure we finish the job.
Yeah, reach as many people as you can.
And then move up to the mountains and do it up there.
If your goal isn't big enough to allow other people to fit inside of it, then you're not doing your team justice.
Right.
And so he was saying, you know, if you're happy where you are, you're basically telling your team that their goals are not big enough to fit inside of yours. And so you need to have that big vision, that big goal, so that their dreams, hopes, and aspirations can fit right along into it. It's just how our business is set up.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just super profound. I was like, wow, that's so crazy how, if your dream isn't big enough, then you're just basically, you're not allowing other people to rise up underneath.
Yeah, I love that. So one of the things Kendall and I have been working on, we just hired an agent under us. So now we have a few different people in our team that we are allocating different, jobs to. And it's tricky giving up control of things. I am not good at that. It's a big learning curve for me. It's amazing to see, because you want your business to be helping people and making money when you're not there.
Right.
If you go on a trip for 3 days, you need the business to still run
Right.
when you're not there. Like when you guys went up, where did you go? You went somewhere and Kendall had to fix the door.
Oh yeah. Everything always hits the fan when we go away for
exactly.
2 days. That's when
Thank you for
everything
that, by the
breaks.
way, Kendall.
Pipes burst, doors break. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just what happens.
Kendall and I went to Miami last week. On Friday, we had a 1:00 flight, and at 11:00, my buyers had their final walkthrough. So I had our new hire go do the final walkthrough, because I was like, oh, it's a breeze. You just literally walk through the house for 15 minutes, and then you just show them where the closing is.
Right.
But of course, she got there. The heat was shut off. The water didn't turn on. There was water sitting on top of the furnace. So we had to get everyone involved. And I was in the airport. So I'm in Logan Airport, like
Oh my gosh.
calling the attorney, calling my transaction coordinator, calling the buyer's agent, calling the buyers, trying to smooth everything over.
Wow.
They had to hire the emergency plumber to come and fix everything.
Wow.
But Friday was the day that it got down to negative 15.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't fixed that afternoon, we're going to have to delay the closing until,
Yeah.
the pipes burst and then the
Right.
whole house was fixed.
Right.
So, but I'm
Oh
like,
my
every
God.
time
Every
I
time.
try to plan something fun.
Right.
Yep. One of our
Yeah.
stores had a pipe
Your
freeze
business.
that day too.
Yeah. It did.
Someone did?
Yeah, one of our stores.
Didn't burst, but
But it froze, and that was what we woke up to.
Meg
Was, hey,
108.
there's no water, and of course, teas, smoothies, you need water. And
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, no problem.
Essential
One of you go
ingredient.
out and buy some water, and we'll call the landlord, and it all ended up.
Everything's
working
no
itself
problem.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
gotta be
First
solution
step.
oriented.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it was funny, like as you said, so in our business, everyone is an independent business owner. So in your business, like when you hire somebody, you get to dictate how they run, how they do everything. In ours, we can't. We can only inspire, motivate, and this is what we do, this is what's successful, but you're ultimately, you can do what you want to do, right? And so it's funny because when we had that mindset, like, okay, no water, no problem, we'll figure it out. Let's go get some water. We'll figure out how to wash blenders without running water. We'll all figure it out.
Of the places that have opened under you, do you guys, find fulfillment out of helping all of them? And have there been challenges with having other people running those?
Yeah, for definitely fulfillment from it. There's nothing better than especially some of these younger kids come out of college and they're 22 and they're all of a sudden own their own business. Like it's unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah, so that's amazing, and especially when they start making great income.
Life-changing income.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
At like 25, like one of
Yeah.
our girls makes like more money than most people that do great in corporate America.
Yeah.
Like fantastic.
And even some of our people, because not everyone owns a store, brick and mortar. Some people do like what Kelsey did for many, many years. And just an extra part-time income, on top of their existing career is amazing. But as far as challenges, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Just like I said earlier, the successful people that you see, there's behind that is the blood, sweat, and tears. That
Right.
you
It's not for
literally-
everyone.
Right.
Blood, sweat, tears.
Literally.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. And when we say like everything's no problem, really that just puts us in the solution mindset. And that's part of I did 8 years at Amazon, and some of the things that we did on the ground, deploying robots everywhere. We had a lot of military guys in our department, so they had that kind of remote. We got to figure this out. This is we're on our own here, and so that's kind of translated to this business for me. Is we have to figure this out. There's no quitting on this, and let's keep moving forward.
Yeah, and one of the things that you have brought to our business on that note was Alex said, like, when coaching and mentoring our team, whenever you come to us with a problem, have 3 solutions already presented, basically like, hey, here's what's going on in my business, here's what's happening, but here are 3 solutions I've come up with. Which one of the 3 is the best?
That's
and then
an awesome
that way
idea.
we can
I had a boss that if you couldn't bring a problem to him, he said, "Do you have your 3 solutions yet?" It's like, no, you'd have to like go back and come up with 3 feasible solutions. and you present it to them, and then you'd say, okay, well, what about this, and that really stuck with me.
And then in our business, it's, what we do is very simple. It's simple things. It's not easy to do. It's simple. It is interesting how it's basically the people are the problem. Not necessarily the problem, but it's a people business, and that's like the hardest part.
Yeah.
Is understanding
absolutely.
like how to coach and mentor each person individually, because everyone has a different love language. Everyone has a different way that they like to be talked to, coached,
very
mentored,
similar.
stretched, all that kind of stuff. And
Like
that's
buying and
the
selling
hard
real
part.
estate.
Yeah, managing expectations,
Right.
managing personalities. Yeah.
Personalities is big.
Yeah.
That's Realtor Life 101, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys for coming in. I'm so thankful you were on the podcast. I know that a lot of people in our community know the both of us and find you guys very inspiring. So I'm just excited for everyone to hear this. And thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
so
guys.
much.
We appreciate it.